is your earliest memory of live theatre?
Oh, bloody hell. I think my earliest memory of live theatre is pantomime at Woking Theatre. I must have been about 6, I guess. And I was always that annoying kid who, wouldn't stop putting his hand up to get on stage. So I think every pantomime I ever went to, I ended up on stage, because even if they didn't pick me, I would literally just go on stage.
Going either way.
Yeah, all the kids would kind of like walk up, and then I'd be like, yeah, I'm coming, and I'll just join them. I don't know, I have no idea why, but yeah, I think that's the kind of earliest thing I can remember.
And were you quite like confident and stuff then when you were younger?
Yeah, I think, well, from what I can remember, I was. I didn't mind doing anything. My sister was quite shy. I was the kind of loud, confident one, and I was always up for anything. So getting on a stage and kind of showing off in front of 1,000 people, I was kind of well up for.
Yeah. And did you start in acting, or what was the road like to the success that you've got now?
Yeah, I started in acting. That was my kind of dream when I was a kid. I always wanted to be an actor. Then I went to A-level college, kind of the normal route, doing public school and then public college. So I did my A-levels, and I'd never danced before. And then my acting teacher introduced me to the college's dance teacher, and they said they needed more boys for the dance course. So I said, fine, I'll happily do it. So I took up dancing at the age of 17, I think. And then I got into Millennium Performing Arts at 18. So I started there on the musical theatre and dance course. Yeah.
So the goal was to do musical theatre?
Yeah, it never really was. I was to be a straight actor, because I can't sing. I might have trained in musical theatre, but ask anyone, I cannot sing a note. I'm pretty tone deaf. I loved the experience of training for 3 years, and I really enjoyed it. And during those 3 years, I kind of fell in love with more kind of being behind the scenes, and being able to kind of orchestrate what was happening on stage rather than being on the stage myself. And then that's how that kind of came about.
And do you remember your first role outside of musical theatre then?
Yeah, it was. I was in my, I want to say, second year. I can't remember now. I was first or second year at Millennium, and a guy called Drew Baker came in to do auditions. Yeah. So he did auditions for a show called HMS Pinafore, which he was doing at the Batsy Barge. This was 2010-ish, I guess. And everyone auditioned, etc. And then there was a role. He said that he also wanted an assistant director. So instead of wanting to be in it, I asked if I could assist him on the show. So he agreed. So I became the assistant director on the show. So I had my first professional credit was actually being an assistant director, not being a performer, which was quite strange, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I guess like when people offer you things, you've got to take it. You've got to say, yeah, why not?
Yeah. Exactly that. And it was kind of that relationship, like the kind of relationship I made with Drew and the team I met around that, because when I graduated in 2012, I wasn't in my third year showcase. So I wasn't in my third year showcase because I was filming the Les Mis film at the time. But at the same time, I also asked if I could assist the director of it. So I became the assistant director of our third year showcase. Which was weird. Right. So I kind of, like I said, I'd never really performed. I ended up just kind of, in the Les Mis film, I was just one of the drummers. But so I wasn't really acting or anything. I was just drumming. And then I went back and assisted again. So I never actually really performed. It was weird.
Brilliant. That's amazing, isn't it? How you went to a theatre college to do theatre, and you ended up not really doing very much theatre at all.
Yeah, the only stage job I really did was I was a dancer in a pantomime in my third year, and that was it. Like in 2012. So that was literally it, I guess. Apart from that, I I went into directing first, and then when I graduated, my first job leaving was assisting Drew on a show called Gilbert and Sullivan's Pirates of Penzance. And then Drew's sister got unwell, unfortunately, so he had to go back to Wales, and I took over directing the show. So I ended up directing this show, once again completely winging it. But yeah, and then it kind of went from there. I never performed again.
Wow. And do you wish that you had, or are you just thankful for the path that you've been on?
I don't know. I kind of wish I did a bit more acting, because that was always my first love. I don't regret not singing or dancing anymore, because those loves were a bit later in life, but obviously in my late teens. But no, I do wish I'd done a few acting jobs, but it was weird. It kind of, I snapped my fingers and a certain amount of years had gone past, and it just never happened.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, everybody says as you get older, time gets quicker, but it's so true. It does, you know. Like, even at this time in lockdown, you're just like, a week is gone, and you don't know where it's gone. Yeah. So I guess, yeah, and if you're being successful and you're getting more jobs and you're doing stuff, you know, why stop that to try something else, right? Yeah,
exactly that. And you know, I haven't had a Spotlight membership since 2012, I guess. And then when that expired, I never redid it. Or Equity, I was an Equity member and all that. But once again, after that, it just never really came about again. And then because it was weird, because of all the connections I'd made in the theatre industry, it was always as an assistant director or a director or this, and then nobody actually ever knew me as a performer really. So it never came about, because those no one would ever ask me to kind of do a self-tape with them or anything like that, because they didn't see me as a performer, even though I had trained as a performer. I did once do a short film. Well, it was kind of a short film. It was my friend Josh Andrews, who is still a performer today. He's done most West End shows now, but he once did a short film. I can't remember when it was. Must have been 2014-ish. And he needed someone to read alongside him in this short film, which I did, which I have no idea what happened to. But that was unpaid, and it was just helping him out really.
Yeah.
But yeah, weird.
Wow. And talk us through your highlights. So since 2012, what have you been up to, and are there any really, really special moments that you want to talk about?
The first thing I ever produced, I guess, first thing I ever produced was a series of concerts called the Singer Soiree, which we did 7 of them, which was quite special. I quite enjoyed those, and that was my first kind of introduction into producing, because before that I'd just directed, and I thought, you know what, let's try and do some producing as well, and that's when I kind of got the producing bug. But once again, I was winging it, didn't really know what I was doing. It was quite obvious I didn't know what I was doing, but the intention was there to kind of to do something positive and bring a light to a charity, and I think we did a good job in the kind of resources we had, and so that was quite special. Then what else? Lottie's War, that was my first kind of big UK tour. I was associate producer on that back in 2014, which was fun. It was my first opportunity to kind of travel the country and look at new venues and kind of really experience the full paid kind of world, if that makes sense, to kind of actually people be paid equity, people actually kind of going on a big tour with a big set, and instead of it just being kind of stripped together with masking tape and duct tape and just pulling all your friends together to try and put something on the stage, which is a great way of learning. But yeah, Lottie's War was probably my first kind of step into the big world of producing big shows. What else? Pippin was great. It was fun to work with Katie Lipson on at the Southwark. That was still one of my favourite shows I've ever worked on. Yeah. What else? London Theatre. So I worked with Ray Rackham at London Theatre Workshop for quite a while. programming and helping him develop new writing there. And it's where we started. Ray's a phenomenal writer, and he wrote a play which I produced the first workshop version of it, which was called Through the Mill, and then that turned into the musical called Judy, which ran at the Arts Theatre. And it was great to be in that kind of process, and that started my love of new writing, which was quite good. Don't know. There's loads. Over the last, I worked out the other day. Over the last 9 years, including obviously the first one with Drew, I've worked on 42 shows. So it's like there's a lot. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's massive.
Yeah, it's a lot. I've got to think, because since I've been at the barn, I've already worked on I think it's 12, 15, something like that shows, and we had another 5 in the pipeline. So there was a huge amount I've worked on just in the last 2 years. So I've worked on the best part of 15 shows in 2 years. So it's just a lot of and the ones that I've been doing away from the barn. So which is like Spamalot Tour and Madagascar Tour and Dark Sublime, and so I've probably worked on 20 odd shows in 2 years. So
I bet your brain's just constantly like. Ooh.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good kind of insaneness. It's nice, and any producer I speak to, it's like the more projects you have on the go, the busier you are, the better it is, really, because you kind of you do it for the love of it. You do it for the barn as a charity. Like, we're not a commercial theatre. I see myself as a commercial producer, but I'm working for a non-commercial theatre because I love working at venues. There's something about growing a venue, and when I helped at London Theatre Workshop and kind of helping to grow that venue a bit, and it was I wanted that kind of bite, that kind of taste again. And when the barn was launched, to be given the opportunity to help launch a brand new multi-million pound theatre, it was kind of a no-brainer to move there.
Yeah, and I guess like with it moving so quickly and in such a fast pace, you get to the more you learn, the more you get to put in practice. I guess you can just continue it.
Oh, exactly that. And everyone makes mistakes. I've made mistakes along the way, and everyone does, and it's the only way to kind of learn from those mistakes. And you have to keep growing, you have to keep learning, and I feel like you can always learn and always basically learn new things. So I'm always constantly reading new books. I'm always going on new seminars. I'm always wanting to kind of absorb that information. Yeah.
And for people, describe the difference between directing and producing.
Sure. So the director's job is basically when you have a product on stage, or the production on stage, the director's job is to create the vision. So to put all the bits together, to have that creative look at mindset, to think, how can we make this piece of writing the best it possibly can be, with the best actors, with the best resources, with the best everything we can do, and create the vision on stage. The producer's job is everything else behind it. So in terms of the producer will hire the director, the producer will choose the venue, the producer will choose the show, what show they do. It will oversee the casting. It will make sure everyone gets paid on time. It's all the stuff that you don't really see. But behind the scenes, obviously, you've got the stage managers are behind the scenes of the stuff on the stage. But to be able to pay and set the budgets and figure out how much we can actually spend on the set, or oversee the marketing campaign, or it's basically overseeing a bunch of amazing people and just facilitating them to be able to do their amazing work.
And is there someone you'd love to collaborate with?
Oh. Well, yeah, there's director wise, Marianne Elliott would be a dream, absolute dream to do something with her, and producer wise would be Sonia Friedman. But once again, they're probably very obvious choices, but also places, because once again I love venues. So if I could ever get to work with somewhere like the Don Mar or the Almeida, or the National, obviously, I would obviously jump at it because they're phenomenal venues. And they create, the thing I like about all of the people I just mentioned, the venues I mentioned, is they create unique work, but they don't just focus on commercial titles. They're also open to new writing, new work, developing, even if it does have a slight commercial edge to it. But they're still open to the idea of taking a risk on a bit of new writing, because I feel passionate about supporting new composers, new writers, and being able to help the next wave of people come through.
Yeah, I think that's, like you say, it's just as important, isn't it? Because a lot of these works have been out for a long time, revivals of stuff, it's great. Obviously, I'm sure it's great to work on things like that. But when you get to work on something brand new, you're working on that together. And I think you're creating something special about that.
Yeah, exactly that. And even when so over the last couple of years, I've had a chance to work on a lot of shows that are kind of what you'd call off-the-shelf shows. So ones that are already pre-existing, they exist, and you just kind of pay for the license of it. But even with those shows, I've been lucky enough to kind of be able to work with the director or the artistic director to be able to rip them apart a bit and be able to say, let's bring it in a totally different way. Let's turn it into an actor-musician show, or let's set it somewhere else, or let's try something different with it to bring a whole new light to it, which is really fun to do. Because, and it's the same with performers. I'm obviously speaking broadly here, but from the ones I know anyway, they love inventing something new. They're not. That's much more exciting than walking into a show that is, you've got to stand here, move your arm here, you duck down here.
You know what's coming, and I think great, sure, but isn't it much more exciting and keeps you on your toes, I guess.
Yeah, and you get to give a bit of yourself to that character. You get to create that character, which is what actors love to do, and it's about putting your heart and soul into that and be able to create it. And some longer running shows, you don't get that kind of input, so it's nice to be able to create and play around with new work a bit.
Absolutely. So I run a children's theatre company back here in West Wales, and every year we do one big show. And this year was I'm going to say 10th year that I've written a show. I think so. There's so much else going on with the kids. We were very lucky over the past year that we've had a lot of people come down locally, and Drew came down, and the kids.
He's obviously from Wales, of course.
Yeah. With different performers and things, so they've had a lot on their plate. You've got so much going on with the kids and stuff. Why not try and revive one of your earlier shows and do? And I was like, no, because these kids are so different to the kids that I had 10 years ago. These aren't the same children. Yeah. I was like, I want to write something for them, and it's brand new for them. They've got nothing to base it on. They've got obviously the outline of a character, and they can then delve into that character and play around with it. And it's, for me, and also then I'm not comparing it to something I did 10 years ago. I was 10 years younger, so it's like, it's so much nicer to get something fresh and new and work with fresh and new talent as well at the same time. It works really well.
I couldn't agree more with you.
You're going, no, that's not the right.
No, it gives you an opportunity. Like you said with the casting, it's instead of knowing that you have to cast someone who is 5'4", brunette, blonde, brown eyes, this, that, or the other, you get to say, okay, this character, how can we adapt it? Like, what can we do with it? Like, what's then? We can change the name of the character. We can kind of develop it into whatever we like. And then what is really nice is when you go to a casting, it makes it a lot harder for the casting director. But when you go to a casting, you can say, look, we are a little bit more flexible in this. Let's try a whole different diverse range of kind of looks and styles and characters, and then think, oh, actually, that is a person that we'd never have thought of. And that's what I love about the casting process. And I don't know if actors are aware, but there's so many times when an actor will come in and be like, and they'll try something or do something, and the creative team will sit there and be like, oh, would never have thought of that. Like, that's such a good idea. Yeah. Like that interpretation of the character is something that we would never come to our mind, but we love it. And then it gets used in the show.
the kids come up with all these different things when you're working with them, and then you're like, oh yeah, do that, yeah, that's a good idea, trying to make it look like it was so your idea, but they've just come, because they do, particularly kids. I mean, I don't know how many times I've walked into a rehearsal room, and I'm terrible, I'm such a planner, I've had it all planned out, and I'm like, right, we're going to block this scene and this scene and this scene today, and I go in, and I literally have to just wing the book, like it has to go, because they feed so much into the rehearsal, and you know, they give you so much back that you're like, yeah, we're rolling with that idea, I didn't see it going in that direction, but we'll take it.
Exactly, and it's great, and that's what I love. It's collaboration at the end of the day. It's whether it's the producer or ensemble number 26, like one of those people may have the best idea in the room, so we've got to open our ears and listen to everyone's thoughts.
That really leads me on to my next question, which was, what do you think is the most essential or important thing as a director when working with a company? Do you think it is being open?
Yeah, like I said, everyone has got their own way of working, and when I work with a director, if I'm producing a show, I kind of let them do whatever their process is. I don't try and implement too much on them, because if you try and push too much on a director, you're going to squash their vision. And the whole reason you hired them is because you trust their vision and their process. So you need to kind of give them that space to be able to do it. But yeah, when I'm directing, it's about collaboration. It's about getting people to work together to, like I said, because just because you're the director doesn't mean you've got the best ideas. All it means is that you're the voice in the room to kind of try and get everyone's ideas and facilitate. Yeah, exactly. You're the driving force behind the clicking of the puzzle pieces. And sometimes I always describe it that the producer kind of creates, if you have a puzzle, the producer creates the corner pieces and the kind of outside kind of stretch of it, or the outline, and then the director and the company fill in the middle. And it's not just the director, it is the company, because everyone's got great ideas.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got a few like quirky questions now, off the wall questions, or just not within the realms of, but what is your favorite sport to play or watch?
Oh, football. Yeah.
Both? You like to play and watch it, or just watch it?
I used to love to play football. I used to be a goalkeeper, and just come tall. But I love watching football. My family are rugby fans. I'm a football guy, but I am missing sports at the moment a little bit.
Yeah, sure, that's the thing, because there's nothing to watch.
No, there's only a certain amount of reruns you can watch of old games.
Yeah, before you literally go, oh, in a minute, you know, that's going to happen.
Exactly. You do a play-by-play.
Yeah. And what would describe the perfect holiday for you?
So I always get told off by my fiance a lot for not wanting to go on holiday and just sit down and do nothing. So, because I can't sunbathe. I just hate it. I just can't stand sunbathing. I just feel like you're wasting your time. You're paid to sit down and sleep. So something where you can experience something new. It doesn't have to be anything kind of wild or anything, but it's just, even if you go for a hike, or if you're exploring the town, or that's why I'm not a huge fan of going to the same place too many times. So yeah, somewhere I can experience and explore, I guess.
Oh yeah, like see how other people live and stuff, I guess. Like when you go abroad, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, exactly that. I've always said that I'd love to live abroad at some point. I don't really know where, but I've always lived in the UK, and I've been to countries for a month at a time, but I've never done the whole live there for a year, go to work there, and actually feel like I'm living there. Because like you said, you experience a place in such a different way if you live there compared to if you're visiting there. So I'd love to do that one day.
Awesome. And is there a show that you'd love to work on at any point?
Yeah, there's loads. There's hundreds. Let's go for the obvious ones. Come From Away, just because it's phenomenal. It's just incredible. And my favourite show when I was a kid was Chicago. So I'd love to produce Chicago or direct Chicago one day. But yeah, those are probably the two kind of
Top one.
Yeah, top tier.
And are you a fan of cooking? Do you like to cook?
I do. I do really like to cook. I don't do it enough because I haven't got the time. Even now, even doing this, I haven't got a huge amount of time to do it. But no, I do really enjoy cooking, but I'm really bad at sticking to the recipe. I just kind of I'm so bad at just being like, oh, what else we got in the cupboard to kind of mix it up, like, which I get told off a lot for. But
my mum is horrendous. Like, I've never known anyone else like it. I never ever. Like, when I lived away, mum would be like, oh, what are you cooking for tea? And I, lived with friends, so I was like, oh yeah, we're all chipping in. And she's like, oh, don't follow the rest. Oh, you don't need that. Just have you got some of this in? And I'm like, yeah, but that's nothing like that, ma. Oh yeah, but just chuck it in, love. That'll be and you should see her when she serves up food. It's just most, oh my god. When I moved back home, I just remember just laughing because I was like, I've missed this. Like, I've had years of not having, like, it's like, it just goes everywhere, and you're like, oh lord, what is happening?
She sounds like a great woman, and a smart one at that, because it's, like I said, I couldn't agree more. Just experiment. It's fun. It's supposed to be. And sometimes you do end up with absolute rubbish, but sometimes you find something that is so much better than the recipe. So why not?
Go with it. Yeah. Last question for you is, after lockdown, do you know what's going to be next for you?
Well, it'll be going back to the barn, I guess. It'll be continuing with the barn. Get us back up and running. We're trying to do as much digital content as we can and try to keep as relevant as we can, but once again, we're doing all that for free, just because we're in a weird world where at first there was very little out there, but now we're at the point that the internet is actually more saturated with theatre work than it was when theatres were open, because there's only obviously a limited amount of theatres, but there's so many companies producing great work now. So it's hard to, if you put a fee on that or try and charge to watch any of your work at the moment, it's quite hard to, unless you are a huge organisation like the National, it's hard to get those audience in. But I'll be going back to the barn and reopening that. But at the moment, we have no idea time frame. That's the issue. We have absolute no idea time frame wise. And just keeping busy really. I've owned an investment fund for about 6 years, so we're now in the process of turning that into a producer portal, just to have a base, basically a website base where producers can go to link up with writers, get access to investments, get access to investors, because investors are one of the hardest parts about being a producer, is trying to find people to fund your shows. So it's about being able to give people a leg up and say, look, here's some investors who may be able to help you, and that kind of stuff.
That sounds amazing. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, so it's like I said, I've been running it for about 6 years, and it literally started off as a closed Facebook group. Then it's turned into a website that was based on investment called the Investment Portal, and now it's transforming into the producer portal. It's just, like I said, it's just a way of kind of keeping each other connected and giving like resources of contacts to tour venues, to job opportunities, to one-on-one video chats with people about how to get a show to Edinburgh Fringe, or how to work with your PR company correctly, or all those kind of things, just to kind of help really.
Yeah, it's really important, isn't it, that you help one another out. You never know when you're in a situation that you need somebody that you've helped out at some point, that they could be able to then reciprocate, and it's always really good.
Oh, hugely. Producing is one of them. It's a strange part of the industry, because unlike most roles in the industry, a producer can team up with as many producers as they like on a project. So an actor unfortunately can't always choose who they act with, but a producer can choose who they produce with, and you can have 10 producers on one show and kind of use each other's skills and work together. And the amount of times I've called friends for advice or colleagues for help, and I've got a mentor in a guy called Tom Siracusa, who runs the Menier, and I mentor other people. So it's this kind of lovely link up of people all through stages of their careers. So it's just a really nice collaborative kind of weird family feel within producing.
Love it. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat today. It was great.
Absolutely my pleasure, Jen.
Fab. It was really lovely to chat to you and hear about all the different things that you've been up to.
No, like I said, my pleasure, and I'm happy to help and happy to chat to you during this time.
Oh, fab. Thank you. I'll send you the link when it goes up onto the channel anyways.
Yeah, please do. Like I said, send it over and I'll have a watch and a share.
Fab. Thanks so much. Take care.
Cheers, Jen. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Huge thank you to Jamie. Wow, it was amazing listening to all of his career highlights so far, and wish him all the very best for the future. Lots more still to come. Stay safe, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.